Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss about diagnosis and evaluation of obstructive sleep apnea syndrome. As I already mentioned in my previous video that I'm going to do a separate video on this, and here it is. So here we go. So, in any diagnosis and evaluation, we'll go through a series of steps, that is, history taking, examination, and then management. So, first of all, in history taking, though this is not reliable, history of sleep apnea is elicited from the spouse. And there are various symptoms that the patient presents to us. So, there is loud snoring. So, family members complain about patients' loud snoring and daytime somnolence. That is drowsiness at work, fall asleep at work while driving or on telephone, and morning headaches and fatigue, restless sleep that the patient doesn't feel rested after night sleep, periods of apnea, that is cessation of breathing, which results in frequent arousals at night, that is sudden awakening and gasping for air, and there is decreased libido and impotence, indigestion and gastroesophageal reflux disease, hypertension, decreased cognitive functions including memory loss, and personality changes, depression, psychosis, nocturnal headache, sweating, and enuresis. So these are the symptoms that the patient presents to us. So we need to elicit these all symptoms in obstructive sleep apnea patient. And next we'll go for examination. So in physical examination, we'll examine ENT, head and neck, and we'll also measure blood pressure, neck circumference, which is usually measured at the level of cricothyroid membrane, and it shouldn't be greater than 42 centimeters in male and 37.5 centimeters in female. And we'll also measure body mass index for assessing obesity, as it can be related to obesity, hypoventilation syndrome, Pickwickian syndrome, as I discussed in my previous video. And next, sometimes systemic examination is needed when patient presents to us with cor pulmonale or hypertension. So, what are the findings we'll find on physical examination? So, usually we'll find deviated septum, hypertonic turbinates, allergic rhinitis, nasal valve collapse, and polyps or tumors at the level of nose. And we can also find macroglacia, retrognathia, micrognathia, and large mandibular tori at the level of oral cavity. And at the level of oropharynx, we can find large tonsils, large soft palate, large uvula, large pharyngeal wall, fullness in base of the tongue, lingual tonsillar hypertrophy, and banding of posterior pharyngeal walls. So these can be found at the level of oropharynx, and at the level of laryngopharynx, lateral pharyngeal wall collapse, omega-shaped larynx, tumors can be found. So at the level of larynx, we can find vocal cord palsy or tumors and full and thick neck, that is Pickwickian syndrome, as I already mentioned. In children, we usually find tonsil and adenoid hypertrophy, nasopharyngeal cysts, encephalocele, choanal atresia, deviated nasal septum, and craniofacial or orthodontic malformations. So, what are the general findings we'll see on physical examination? They are obesity, achondroplasia, chest wall deformity, and Marfan syndrome. So these are the findings we'll find. And there is also a maneuver which will be performed. So here what we'll do is we'll insert flexible nasopharyngeal laryngoscope through the nose at the level of hypopharynx, and we'll see the level of pharyngeal obstruction here. So this maneuver helps us to find the level of obstruction. So this is an important maneuver to be performed in physical examination in patients with obstructive sleep apnea. So this is the instrument of flexible nasopharyngeal laryngoscope, which has eyepiece towards the examiner, and laser light will be delivered at the level of hypopharynx. Okay, and what is the gold standard examination method in obstructive sleep apnea evaluation? So it's polysomnography. So it contains various parameters. So here are the parameters. There are electroencephalogram, which shows brain activity, electrocardiogram, which shows heart rate and rhythm, electrooculogram for rolling eye movements, electromyogram, which shows chin and leg muscles, tibialis anterior movements, and pulse oximetry, which shows blood oxygen saturation, nasal and oral airflow for episodes of apnea and hypopnea, monitoring of body positions. And there are certain optional methods here. There are end-tidal carbon dioxide monitor, Esophageal manometer, nasal continuous positive airway pressure or bilevel positive airway pressure, BIPAP. So as I told in my previous video, these nasal continuous positive airway pressure cap and BiPAP, these methods are also useful in the evaluating upper respiratory airway resistance syndrome and Pickwickian syndrome. These method is useful for evaluating as well as treatment in those methods. So these are the optional methods elicited in polysomnography as well. Okay, what are the components to be assessed in polysomnography? So number one is sleep efficiency. Sleep efficiency can be attained through total sleep time divided by total recording time, and sleep architecture, that is duration of stage 1 sleep and REM sleep. And stage 1 sleep elevation suggests disturbed sleep to the person, and REM sleep associated with muscle atonia. Severity of obstruction cannot be assessed in the absence of REM sleep. So these sleep patterns should be assessed in polysomnography. Okay. Oxygen distribution and nadir is also a very important parameters to be assessed. So oxygen distribution provides an idea about gaseous exchange. And what is nadir? Nadir is nothing but the lowest oxygen saturation that the patient drops. So it helps in determining whether the child needs admission after surgery or not, whether the child or adult, whoever it might be. So this is the nadir helps in assessing that. And what is end-tidal carbon dioxide distribution importance? So usually it picks up partial obstructive hypoventilation and end-tidal carbon dioxide gets elevated. So it picks up these values and obstructive index. So it's nothing but total number of obstructive respiratory events, that is obstructive apneas divided by hypopneas and mixed apneas. Okay. So here obstructive apnea by apnea hypopnea index, if it is greater than 5 events per hour, it diagnoses obstructive sleep apnea. So here, central index is nothing but total number of central apneas or hypopneas. We'll measure it, and video. So here in this video, it shows us appearance of child during sleep. Notes pitiful look with retractions, loud snoring, and paradoxical respirations. Seesaw looks of the chest and abdomen can be obtained through this video method. And morning after questionnaire, usually it is asked to close relatives, which confirms sleep pattern. Okay. So what is PCRIT? This PCRIT is nothing but the passive critical closing pressure technique, which is a gold standard for measuring upper airway collapsibility during sleep. So this peak rate extract measurement of this parameter is achieved by measuring the pressure at which the passive collapse of the upper airway takes place, known as the critical pressure. And this measurement should be made during nocturnal polysomnography examination, and is currently, it's not that much important currently, whereas certain other methods are used, and its importance is there in somewhere. So here, this measures of airway collapsibility means whether airway obstruction is present, partial or complete or not. So negative peak rate indicates stiff airway. What is nasal patency importance? So better patency offer higher volume of air to pharynx and less chances of airway collapse. There are various tests for locating the site of obstruction in dynamic mode. So there are sign MRI or drug-induced sleep endoscopy. So drug-induced sleep endoscopy or sleep nasal endoscopy. So what it reveals? It reveals the severity and specific site of airway obstruction in 3 dimension. So it helps in detecting the line of treatment such as type of surgery or appliances. And it also helps us in prognosis, that is in predicting the outcome of the treatment. So there are certain radiographical methods here. Lateral cephalometric X-rays, fluoroscopy, CT scan or MRI, which identifies soft tissue or skeletal obstruction in upper airway, measures posterior airway space and evaluates maxillary and mandibulary development. So there are multiple sleep latency tests here. They are done during the day in a sleep laboratory where the patient is allowed to take several naps, and it measures the time that patient takes to fall asleep, and an average sleep onset of less than 5 indicates excessive daytime sleepiness, which is considered pathologic. So usually we'll assess the severity of obstructive sleep apnea through respiratory disturbance index. As I already mentioned in my previous video about it, respiratory disturbance index. So along with that, the degree of oxyhemoglobin saturation SaO2 is the indirect indicator of SpO2. Okay. So here, if it is less than 80%, it's moderate OSA, and if it is less than 60%, it is severe OSA. And there is also a scale which is called Epworth Sleepiness Scale. So it is also is very useful in assessing the severity of obstructive sleep apnea. So here it is. Okay, it assesses the daytime sleepiness. So what we'll do in this method? Usually we'll ask certain questions to the patient to know the status of dozing or sleeping in various activities. Per suppose we'll ask him in situations like reading, watching TV, theater or meeting place, a traffic light while driving vehicle, sitting in passenger seat of a car for 1 hour, rest after lunch without alcohol, or lying down to rest. So in these activities, we'll ask whether he is getting dozing, what is the level, what is the status of dosing or sleepiness. We'll ask him. If he never does, then we'll mention the score as 0. If he slight chance of dosing is present, then we'll mention the score as 1. And if it is moderate chance of dosing is present, we'll mention as 2. If there is high chance of dosing or sleepiness, we'll measure as 3. So totally we'll total the score. If the score is less than 8, then it's normal. If it is greater than 8, then it is abnormal, and we can assess the severity of obstructive sleep apnea through this score. So it's very important in assessing the severity. So you need to note it down here. And next, what are the complications that the patient possesses if he has obstructive sleep apnea syndrome? So he might have complications of cardiac arrhythmias, cerebrovascular accidents, angina and myocardial infarction, congestive heart failure, cor pulmonale and chronic heart failure, hypertension, systemic as well as pulmonary, peripheral edema, polycythemia, excessive daytime somnolence can result in accidents during driving vehicles or operating dangerous machines, less exercise and more weight gain and more sleep apnea. So here Friedman, scientists gave us various tongue positions and patient selection for palatal surgery. So through this examination, if the patient needs surgery, if the patient doesn't cure with non-surgical methods, which I'm going to discuss in a further video. So if the patient need palatal surgery, he gave us 4 positions to assist the patient. Suppose if the entire soft palate including uvula is visible to us, so we'll mention as position 1. If the soft palate is visible but some part of the uvula is not seen, we'll mention as 2, position 2. If the uvula is not seen but some part of the soft palate is visible, we'll mention as 3. And if the almost no soft palate is visible, we'll mention as position 4. So in this method, what we'll do is the extent of soft palate visible is noted when the patient opens the mouth and phonates. And there is no use of tongue depressor here. So what will get the conclusion from these positions? If the patient is in position 1 and 2, then he will have better results with palatal surgery than positions 3 and 4. So that inference we can obtain through these Friedman tongue positions and patient selection for palatal surgery. And that's it. Thank you guys. Hope it's useful. And I'll be going to present the management part in the separate video. Will be uploaded further. So stay tuned. And if it's helpful, please like it, share to the needful friends, and subscribe to my channel if anyone else still not subscribed it. And thank you everyone. Hope you all are good and safe. Take care.